You know, I might have been wrong about this game. There's more to Reignited than meets the eye. From neat Easter eggs to brand new challenges and skill points, and even deep emergent mechanics that allow you to fly through any level you want with just a bit of practice. This game, in spite of its faults, has some of the best replay value of any Spyro game out there, and moreover, it's just freaking beautiful. Now, I know I just made a video talking about how much this game actually sucks, but I don't think that tells the whole story. In fact, I think this game has had quite a special amount of love put into it, not just by its developers, but by its budding community of casual, speedrunner, and modding players alike. So let's shine a light on those things, and hopefully by the end of this video, you'll learn something about this game that you never knew existed. Enjoy. And of course, thanks for watching. Now, before I get too deep into the mods and speedrunning exploits that really make this game crazy to revisit, let's just take a step back and talk about some of the casual aspects of this game that really set it apart from the originals. Like light sources, for example. Dark levels in this game take on a whole new vibe, where the only light that you get is from torches or mystical mist that comes up from the swampy grass. Levels like Spooky Swamp and Dark Passage really have this whole new intimate vibe to them now that the Unreal Engine lighting, with all of the ray tracing or whatever, really allows for that deep contrast between light sources and darkness that's just not possible on the PS1 version. I really like the aesthetic of levels like this. And that magical lighting extends into the environment design. Take a look at Midnight Mountain, for example. In the original game, the lighting is quite flat here, but in Reignited, the roofs emanate this sort of godly glow to them, as if to say, this is where it all happens, this is the end, right here in this area, get over here, you know? And what about Autumn Plains, really nailing the fall aesthetic with that sepia haze and going on top of the castle to see the mist out in the distance with extra little rocks floating in the distance just to make it even that much more fantasy. You know, I love all of the little things they added to the environment in this game. Like, what's with those square trees and crystal islands? Like, that level has such a fun new geometric aesthetic to it that's just so otherworldly, which is exactly, I think, what the developers were going for in the original games. Or what about all of the new dynamic skyboxes with clouds that slowly swirl around you, covering up the light from the moon behind them? It's just so gorgeous and encourages you to just stop and soak it in. And speaking of dynamic, did you know that there's dynamic music in this game? When you slow down, the game actually goes ambient, so that way it really encourages you to kind of breathe in the world. And conversely, when you charge, a bunch of drums and percussion kick in. And sure, maybe dynamic music isn't like a game-changing thing that's, you know, absolutely revolutionary. It's in a lot of games nowadays, but in this game, I think it really fits for the whole appreciate the world you're in sort of energy. And I will add as an extra note, a lot of old-time players like me tend to switch the music back to the original soundtrack in the pause menu when we play this game, but if we just kind of stretch our imaginations for a little bit and let the new music play, I think you'll find that some of these songs are actually better than in the original games. Notably, Haunted Tomb, Frozen Altars, Midnight Mountain, and Sergeant Bird, I think are all upgrades, not to mention the really cool dynamic Ice Cavern music that we've been listening to in this video. Now, is every song and artistic choice in this game an upgrade from the originals? No, and I do stand by everything I said in the original video I made, really harping on these subjects. But you gotta admit that the developers really wrote a love letter to the fans with this game, and they put a lot of love and care into making each of these artistic aspects really stand out and shine from the originals, and I just gotta tip my hat to that. But you know, I think it's time we shift gears away from what the developers intended and talk about some of the mods for this game. It's no secret that there's some pretty funny mods for Reignited, from ones that change Spyro's character model to others that change Alora's face. But did you know that there's entire custom levels made for this game? From extended versions of Artisans, Autumn Plains, and Midday Gardens with extra activities and areas, to entire level remakes from separate games like Sonic Unleashed, Half-Life, and The Legend of Spyro. I cannot stress how big of a deal that is, because in the original games, we've wanted modding tools and custom levels for years now, but in Reignited, it's all right there to enjoy. And if you're a computer illiterate dumbass like me who's too lazy to go dig up all these mods mods themselves? Well, there's something called the Omni Swapper, which is one big mod manager that contains almost all of these mods that I've mentioned and then some, with some alternate game modes like Sped Up Spyro and One Hit KO, as well as being able to switch between different characters and vehicles, and the list is really endless. So Spyro Reignited modding is amazing, and it's something I wish we had in the original game. But with that said, let's move on to what I personally believe is the best part of Reignited Trilogy, which is all of the different glitches, exploits, and emergent mechanics that are used to push the speedruns to their limit. Now, by no means is this an exhaustive list of every glitch and trick found throughout the game's history, of which many have been patched and changed over the years, but I gotta show off some of my favorite ones. Like this fairy proxy in Town Square, for example. If you stand in just the right spot as the fairy spawns in, and your frame rate is turned up to the max, you'll get launched way out of the map into outer space. It's pretty hilarious. What about breaking the height cap in flight levels? Normally, Spyro gets cut off at a certain height because the game doesn't want him to go out of bounds. But if you hold up on the left joystick while doing a reverse dive bomb, you'll sort of convince the game into thinking you're flying down when you're really not. Yeah, take that, game. You can't contain me. Or what about something as simple as ladders? You would think that climbing and jumping at the same time would be the fastest way to climb up a ladder, but actually, jumping away from a ladder and back into it immediately allows for you to jump and ascend the ladder almost twice as fast. Pretty cool technique, it's hard to master. Did you know you can turn way harder than you're supposed to in certain vehicles and on supercharges? All you gotta do is mess with the DPI on your mouse and then get one of those really big oversized gamer mouse pads, so that way you can swipe your entire mouse all the way across like a professional CSGO player. But personally, I think the coolest trick of them all is called level storage. By doing a frame-perfect pause, you can exit Gulp as you're entering it, convincing the game that you've actually exited Metro Speedway, in which you re-enter it during the cutscene and then give yourself the properties of the flight level in the Gulp fight itself. What this means is that you essentially unlock Super Flight and Supercharge for not just Gulp, but the entire rest of the game and the entire rest of the file, which means you can take this property into Spyro 1 and 2 as well. So essentially, infinite Supercharge and Superfly for the entire playthrough. I mean, speedrunning aside, that's just a fun way to revisit the game and mess around with, modding and everything aside. So I think it just goes to show that there's so much more to be explored and uncovered within this game, from both the speedrunning, modding, and casual communities alike. Like, there's really just an infinite amount of replayability and communities within each of those subsects that are stronger than ever. So without glazing this game too hard, I just gotta say one more time, I may have been a little hard on this game in my last video, but I do stand by everything I said in that video, and it just shows that no game is perfect, and no matter how much love is put into it by its devs or community, there's just two sides to every story. For every game that's great, there's something to be hated about it, and every game you think is bad, there's something to be liked about it. And I don't know, maybe that tells us something about the nostalgia glasses that we look at this series through. I know I'm definitely guilty of that. But I don't apologize for any of my opinions on these games because I can tell they resonate with you guys, both good and bad. So I'll leave it in your court now. What do you think? Is there anything that you like about these games that I missed, or something you don't like about these games that I missed? Be sure to check out my last video really scathingly taking apart all my criticisms of Reignited, and just keep on fucking gaming, guys. That's really all I have to say. I'm glad I took a deep dive retrospective into these games, and I could absolutely go much deeper, especially on the glitch and speedrun history side of this game. But I'm glad for now just to get my opinions out there and sharing the love for these games that I think a lot of us still have. And even though I may have a pretty big mouth, I'm still huffing just as much Spyro 4 copium as all of the rest of you guys. So on that note, I just want to say thanks for watching, and let me know down below if you guys want to see more Reignited content. Until then, my name's Dayoman, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Dayoman.